Didn't the money do start coming in?
They start rolling in,
Yeah,
bro. They really do.
3, 2.
Like I was making my vision board and stuff, was kind of trying to figure everything out, and I was like, yeah, I still got some left in me. I still got some left, so.
You got a lot left in
I know.
I ain't even worried about it. I was just like, it's in due time.
I'm really learning and back in my Bible study and stuff. You know, God's timing is the perfect timing and no time before. So just trusting that and understanding that, it's like, it makes everything a lot easier.
Makes it smooth, and that's just like life in general. But I feel like sports, I tell people, bro, sports is the greatest teacher.
It really is.
Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitting for it, cause you all cap like.
Welcome back to the Stuck in My Thoughts podcast. It's the place you want to be to hear a one-of-a-kind POV. As always, I'm your host, Justin Stuckey. And today, we've got a guy who was so good at track and field, he couldn't pick one event, so he chose 10 of them. One of the best multi-event athletes in all of track and field. Welcome to the show, Kyle Garland.
Hey, appreciate you for having me, man. I've been seeing what you've been doing with this Stuck in My Thoughts, man, and I was like, yo, when am I gonna be able to get on this joint? So I'm happy to be here now, man. I'm happy to sit down with you, my boy, man. We've been cool for a good amount of years now, so it's good to get to really sit and chat with you.
Yeah, when we're walking up here, first off, it's super hot in Athens, Georgia right now. When we're walking up here, I was telling you, the last time I've been here was on my official visit.
Yeah.
I don't think many people realize you were my host on that visit.
Yeah, I know.
That was a crazy time.
Crazy time. It's 3 years ago now. It's like, man, we've grown a lot. We've started our lives and everything. So it's like, it's crazy to be back here sitting in this scenario. You're in your field, I'm in mine, and we're just, still being able to sit here and chat just like boys, which is super dope. So.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that you were at Gotzis, I was like, I gotta hit up Kyle. Like, I need to get my boy on the show. How was that experience?
Gotzis was absolutely incredible. The history behind the meet, and for this year, it was the 50th year anniversary of that meet, so they made it extremely, extremely huge, but it was a dream of mine to always compete at that meet. I've been watching it for the past, 5-6 years, so now to be, in that field, and just to be able to compete and do what I love to do. After the meet, I didn't even realize, I was talking with my dad on the phone yesterday about it. I had the highest score of any American decathlete at Gotzis, so I was like, I didn't even realize that, right? And it's only 2 Americans have been within the top 2, me and Trey Hardy. So to be in that conversation and just my debut, I just was kind of going out to have a little season opener, and it's yo, I'm within the greats of American decathletes in my first joint. I'm still just turned 25, so I was I'm moving in the right direction. I'm excited about that, bro.
Talked about just turned 25. Happy belated birthday.
Appreciate you.
By the way.
Appreciate you.
Well, I said happy birthday to him on the day of, but happy belated to all you people out there. But you talk about going into Gotzis, and then we talked about being here in Athens, Georgia, but your story started up in Philly.
Yeah.
For you, how was it being raised in Philadelphia, and what was that upbringing like for you?
Man, I mean, I attribute a lot of what I'm able to do to my parents. They put me in the best situation possible. I'm from Northeast Philadelphia, right close to North Philly, and with the history behind North Philadelphia, kids like us, they're not supposed to make it out. So my parents made it, or brought it upon themselves to put me in the best situation possible. I went to a private school about 35 minutes away from where I actually grew up to get the best opportunity for academics and athletics. And, it kind of prepared me. College is a lot. It offers a lot, but it also is a lot of different stressors. You're an 18-year-old kid, going into your life alone, and it's yo, I'm in a new state that I've never been in before. I don't know what's going on. I've been in Philly my whole life, so I was this is something completely different, but it was good. It was a good transition. Definitely Athens is a lot different than Philadelphia is. Going, all that is here in Athens is just a school, University of Georgia, so coming from Philly, a big city, it was definitely a culture shock, a culture change for sure, but for the better. I kind of identify as a Southern boy now, but I still got 215 in my heart, so it's cool.
That's what's up. And coming down here to Athens, University of Georgia, y'all were a powerhouse at the get-go when you came in here. And I was looking throughout your time in college and just some of the people that you were able to be teammates with, like the Matthew Bolins, the Anna Halls, Keenan Lanes, Darius Carbon, Shelby Tyler. the list goes on, Elijah Godwin. What was that environment like, no pun intended, being around all those other dogs?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it kind of set us in a position where it's like we can never become complacent with what it is that we want to do. You know, we came to the University of Georgia because we wanted to be the best of the best, not just the best in the NCAA, but we wanted to be the best of the best. So it's like when you have these dogs around you every day, it's like you're never allowed to let yourself get complacent, because people with that same mindset, they're also in a position where they're able to hold you accountable. So at young ages, we're 18, 19, 20 years old, and we're holding each other accountable, you know, when we want to slack or when we want to go get something crazy to eat or whatever it is. It's like, yo, like, if you're going to do this, we're going to do it with you, but you better be ready to go to the track the next day. So just to be surrounded with guys like that, guys and girls like that at such a young age, to be able to learn, grow, and become the best version of myself that I wanted to become, like, this was the right choice for me to be here. Yeah. And it's home now, so.
Seemed like y'all ran in packs for sure. Like, you guys were everywhere together.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know, because when you got here, it was a different coach than when you ended.
Yeah.
Petros was at the helm. I've heard about his workouts. From your perspective, what is it like in the Petros environment? What are those workouts like?
Petros, you know, Petros is a guru at what he does. You know, I wouldn't be who I am today without Petros, so I attribute a lot of what I do to Petros' expertise in decathlon, and especially being able to kind of harness and grow me as a young up-and-coming decathlete. But those workouts were no joke, bro, you know. Like, we used to, when I came in as a freshman, we had a sand pit right outside of the track. It was about 45 meters. And, you know, now we got global warming, global cooling, or whatever you want to call it, so it don't even get as hot down here as it used to. We would be out here in 95, 98 degrees doing bear crawls through a 45-meter sand pit, bro, like, and then have to go run, like, lappers around the turf with sand all in our shoes and feet and everything else, like, burning holes in the bottom of our socks. But, yo, one thing about Petros, he is going to get you in a position where you're tough, mentally and physically, you know, and he understands the nature of what the NCAA brings. I mean, you know, you competed in the NCAA. It's like, it's either, you know, you're going to get to, it's either sink or swim. So it's like, he was a great person, especially as a young kid in an environment that I've never been in before, where it's like, yo, you gotta fend for yourself. You gotta become a dog. And he, like, instilled in us, you know, no pun intended, instilled in us what it means to be a dog and what it means to be hungry. And, you know, we went into meets and we was like, yo, we ain't scared of nobody. Yeah. We've been out here laid out
this light
in
work.
The sand pit. This competition is the easy stuff. So it was cool. It was real good.
Anybody that has seen you in person, seen you on social media, knows you are a monster. Yeah. You were built. I'm asking this because I've been so curious. Right. This is why the show is called Stuck in My Thoughts. What are your weight room maxes in the bench, the squat, the power clean, and deadlift?
Okay. So let's start with the power clean. That's probably my favorite lift. I did 361 in the power clean, but it's like, I have videos that I've seen on that you might have seen, people might have seen on my Instagram. I can rep 315 all day long, 315, 320 for 3-4 reps in a set, like all day long, hang clean, power clean, whatever. So I can move weight. You know, I got my power clean, my bench. I haven't done like a max bench in about 2 years, but the last time I did it, I did 335 for one in bench. But I think I can move, you know, 300, 315 pretty well, and I've done it for 2 reps. So I think I could go about like 340, maybe 350 for one if I needed to. And my deadlift is probably my craziest one. We do trap bar deadlift, but I've done 725 for 2 on trap bar deadlift. 725 for 2 on the trap bar deadlift. So, you know.
What about squat?
Oh, squat. We don't do deep, but I've done over 635 for about, you know, depth box squats for 6. That's my max there. But I haven't done a 1 rep max too, so I don't even really know what my max is in a squat, which is the scary part.
Yeah.
We don't.
If y'all want to be a major decathlete, these are some of the numbers you need to get up in there in the weight room. No doubt. Now, we're kind of in the track and also the football facility. Did Kirkby Smart ever hit your line to come play football, or did you ever think about it while at Georgia?
When I was like in my flow of competing and running, I never really thought about playing too much. You know, me and my friends would kind of talk like, yo, maybe go out and do a little pro day or whatever, see what happens. But I had a conversation through some of the other football coaches from Kirby just about every year in school. And the funny thing is, not many people know this. On my official visit, I was walking around on campus, we were able to go down on the football field during my official visit back in 2017. And I was walking around with the track recruits or whatever, and Kirby's, coaching, getting ready for the game. And he sees me standing with the track recruits, and he's like, "What are you doing? Football recruits are over here." I'm like, "Coach, I'm a track and field recruit." He's like, "You want to be a football recruit?" I was like, you got to talk to my coach about that. So, and ever since then, like, I've built a solid relationship. I see Kirby in passing, and I'll say what's up. And all the other football coaches, football players, I know them pretty well. And now I got a lot of my boys that graduated from here that are playing for the Birds now. So, I got a close contact. So if this track thing is going well for me right now, but if I want to, do a little side quest, I might be able to get somewhere on the gridiron and
Philly.
Hey.
He one call away. That's all I got to say.
Hey, let me know.
He pulled a little Devin Allen out here. You know what I'm saying?
You know.
One thing I enjoy about the landscape of collegiate track and field in general, especially being in it, you get to see the friendly rivalries in there. I think the trio when it came to the multi-event were you, Leo, and Ayden.
Yeah.
What was that like being in that process, knowing I'm going to get my best while I'm competing against these guys, but I also want to be the best at the same time?
No doubt. I mean, that's such a good question, and I talk about it, but like in more of like a low-key type of way, so to really just like elaborate on it, I think it's super dope. But it's definitely a crazy dynamic, just because it's like, when you go out there, you're never going to be able to take anything light. And coming into the decathlon in the NCAA, like I always saw, like there was always one guy, that was kind of like significantly better than everybody else, so he kind of had it easy. You knew who was going to be the winner, but when I came in, me, Leo, and Ayden were dogfighting every competition there was. It was really like who's going to be the best guy on that day, who's going to be able to put it together and be at the top. So we were always just grinding, fighting, knew that we were going to have a great competition. But then you also see everybody else around, they kind of rose to the occasion. I mean, when we had NCAAs where I scored the collegiate record, the now collegiate record in indoors, 9th place was like 58 or 5,900 points, which has never happened in an NCAA competition before. And now you have 55, 56 getting on the podium after we have left. So we kind of, in a sense, not to kind of toot my own horn and attribute it to the other guys as well, but at the time we were transcending our sport. We were putting our sport on the map. People were wanting to watch, and we were making it exciting. So it was super dope at the time just to, compete in those competitions, but just also to be a part of that, just because it's rare. It's almost a once in a lifetime type of deal. So it was cool to be part of that.
I think I'm biased as heck. I'm not gonna lie, I'm biased. I think when we were in college, those were some of the highest of some of the events. You look at the high jump, for example, 2 of the 3 Olympians were collegiate athletes in the last Olympics at 2021, the trials we competed at. And then the third one was just a collegiate athlete. And then look at what you guys did at the decathlon and the multi-event, just across the board. Look at the hurdles, look at everything. Why do you think that is, though? Why has the athletes in college gone to such a different level? Because it wasn't always like that.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of that comes from just the resources. You see now, and I can give my insight a little bit as a professional athlete now, it's the resources that you are given in college in the NCAA are not the same as the resources that you're given when you're a professional. Everything as a professional is done on your own. You're able to, in college, strictly focus every day. Outside of classes and everything else, you can go out to the track and know you're going to have your coach there. That's going to happen. You're going to have teammates there that you can train with every day that are not just, regular teammates. These are also the best of the best in the country and arguably in the world. It's that stuff is just so routine that it just allows for people to get better. And just as teams start to get better, you're able to start recruiting better, and you get the best of the best high school athletes to come in. So it's just a constant cycle of let's have the best of the best here, the best of the best to push each other to get better every single day. And it's just you create that environment of excellence. And once you start to create that environment of excellence and people really start to see what that means and what greatness really is, it's you guys have no doubt or no choice but to, be the best and to push yourself to not just being the best in the NCAA, but to being the best in the world.
Mm-hmm. You were one of the best in the collegiate landscape, starting to become one of the best in the pro landscape. But when you're finishing your college career, it's kind of like a cherry on top. You were selected to be one of the Bowerman finalists.
Right.
What was that experience like? Because for those who are watching my show that don't know what the Bowerman is, it's equivalent to the Heisman of track and field. So what was that experience like for you?
It was so cool. I mean, one, to be up there with Leo. We had been competing against each other for so long and throughout the season and everything else. So just to have another deck by my side, that was super dope. But, you hear about what the Bowerman is and you watch the ceremony on TV or the streams and everything, and it's just kind of like, yo, this is super cool just to kind of like experience that, these guys and gals, they're getting recognized for their seasons. But it's like, you come into college and it's like you never really expect yourself to be in that seat, to be in that position. So to be out there, like, we really got treated like kings and queens. Like, It was a whole fun weekend. They brought us out. I was able to get a nice new suit.
Yeah, the suit was fresh.
I
that
appreciate
green,
it.
yeah,
I had to get that
that.
Eagles green. I had to get that Kelly green in there. So actually, like, more of a midnight, but like, it was right in the middle. But it was just super cool to get, recognized for the amazing accomplishments that we're kind of able to actually achieve, and to have a whole ceremony for that, just because, like, when it happens and when you achieve something at like a championship or something else, you get like that weekend to really dwell on it, and then it's like, on to the next, on to USA's, on to outdoor season or whatever else it might be. So you don't really get to kind of like sit and bask in what you were able to accomplish. So to just sit there, and for myself, but for everybody else to see like what they've accomplished and how they were able to like show it out, like, kind of like a demonstration that John Anderson did was showing how far Jaden Hibbert really jumps in the triple jump.
Yeah.
And, like, he walked across the whole stage and then walked off the stage down like another 15 feet past. It's like, yo, this is so crazy, bro. Like, he is a G at what he does. So to really see that and to recognize that, I thought was super dope.
Yeah. I would love to cover the Bowerman ceremony. I'm throwing it out there. Bowerman, I'm tagging you now. I would love to be a part of the broadcast. But my only, I'm not even going to say issue, I'm going to say my proposal for the Bowerman, I think that the time frame needs to change.
Yeah.
And I would want to know from your perspective, being one of the finalists, I think it needs to be kind of equivalent to the actual Heisman.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be so far removed because it was in December. December following the previous year. I think once you qualify for regionals, you pretty much know who's set to be a Bowerman finalist. Right. Like, for them not to put Mackenzie Long in the last one, that means, okay, the Triple Crown at the national meet outdoor, it didn't matter. So we already know who's going to be in, right? I think all your teams need to go out to Eugene or Austin, wherever nationals is. That Sunday, leading up into nationals, have the ceremony. Right. You have everybody there anyway. Most people, I didn't learn about what the Bowerman was until my junior year of college. Most college athletes don't know, which is a problem. Bring them there, let them get exposed to the environment while everybody's there, get to see their peers, their competitors, see what they can aspire to be, have the Bowerman ceremony. That's my first proposal. Then go into nationals. Or a week or two after.
Yeah, have it like right preceding. I think that would be dope. Or even if everybody's out there, make a whole ceremony out of it, right? The day two following, give the people the opportunity. If they want to stay a couple extra days afterwards, nobody's in school anymore. So it's like, if you want to stay a couple of extra days after, you can. If not, okay, go ahead and go home. But it's like, have it right there while it's still fresh in everybody's minds. And even after the NCAA meet, if you want to consider the people's performances from nationals, and it's like, okay, have it right after, but it's still while it's fresh in everybody's minds, because I think people kind of like fall asleep on it. Then you wait another 2 or 3 months until you announce the finalists, and then you got to wait another month and a half after that to have the ceremony.
And the next season's already started.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. People are already, their minds are already on the following season, so it's just kind of like dwelling on something that's kind of rolled over or whatever. I mean, which is still cool because we got to be recognized for what we accomplished, but I think just to have it right while it's fresh in people's minds, it would get more people to watch it and really like be attentive of it and start to really learn, okay, what is the Bowerman? Like, yo, they, recognize these people right here. Like, it's going to be fresh in people's heads.
I think that's going to be, that'd be a great suggestion, a great proposal. Bowerman people, I hope you're listening. I hope we can do that. But I want to shift gears here. You mentioned this guy earlier, your father, Keith Garland. He has been instrumental in your life, to say the least. Coached you in high school, raised you. The thing that stuck out to me when you broke the indoor collegiate record at the time, his reaction, running up and down the side, screaming, just joyful, as well as when you did it outdoor, the embrace that you two had. Simply put, what does your father mean to you?
Man, my dad is like, he's really my backbone in this sport. Mom and dad both, but my dad, just because of what we've kind of experienced together throughout this sport, you know, we've been through the highs and lows of everything together, you know, just from him raising me and kind of just breaking out of the, you know, Philadelphia regime and, you know, black kids ain't supposed to get out of Philly and we done did it and, you know, all of that has been super dope. But my dad has been my coach. Like you said, he coached me in high school. My dad has been my coach since I've been 7 years old. Like my dad had a club track team through the AAU circuit and everything, and he's been coaching me from the beginning up until I graduated high school. So he's seen it all. He knows me the best, not just as a dad, but as a coach as well. He knows what gets me to tick. He knows what fires me up, when I need to be more calm and everything. So to be able to, you know, experience him there through every moment, but also for him to experience not just as my coach, but as my dad, I think that's way higher up than just him being there as my coach and experiencing anything with my coach, because it's like he's seen it all happen from behind the scenes, so now he just gets to see it and marvel what his son is capable of doing just from the outside looking in. So it's like just to be able to have him there and to share those embraces and the tears and, you know, even the heartbreak that we felt, it just makes us stronger as a pair, and just to be able to accomplish great things. Like with my dad by my side and my family by my side, I can accomplish anything, man.
That's what's up right there. Talk about the heartbreak side of it.
Yeah.
I think in any sport, there's wins, there's losses. Touching on the wins a little bit, you just came off of your first full Hep winning USA, so props
to you. Appreciate it.
But going into that was your first one in a while. And you talked about it in a former interview right after the event, saying that from that time period of your last one to winning, there's a lot that happened. A lot of battles. I saw a TikTok that you put out, learning how to embrace the failures, learning how to push down those self-doubts. And this month is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Can you touch on the mental battle that you were facing that people didn't get to see?
Yeah. Well, from the time that I had my, you know, Olympic trials, the end of 2024 into when I won my first U.S. Indoor Championship, like I dealt with a lot of injuries in there, but I kind of, after the Olympic trials, that was my second Olympic trials that I competed at and the second Olympic trials that I got hurt at. So I didn't even have a fair chance to finish the way that I wanted to. So I was kind of getting to a point where I was like, yo, why me? Like, what is going on? Why am I getting the short end of the stick every single time? And like I started genuinely losing the love for the sport. Like I never thought I was going to be a person where it was like, yo, I don't want to do this anymore. But for a split second, for maybe the span of maybe like a month and a half, I just kind of was like, yo, maybe this might be my time to go play football. Like track is not working out for me the way that I want it to. And it's just like, it sucks. Like I can't keep dealing with this, you know? And like I really had to make a decision and sit down and be like, yo, why am I actually doing this? Like, what am I in the sport of track and field for? Like, is it the money? Is it the fame? Is it, you know, to kind of be a role model for other people? And it's like, I really genuinely understood, like, in the end of the day, as selfish as this might sound, I'm not doing track and field for anybody else but myself. And it's not because like I care about money. It's not because I want to make myself look good so that I can be a good role model for other people. Like I'm genuinely doing the sport of track and field because I love it. Like if there was no money tied to this sport, the fun and the joy that I get out of this sport is what keeps me going. And like just basically starting to realize that, it brought so much more fun to practices. It brought so much more fun to just chatting with my dad about the sport again. Like I felt like a kid again. Like I was that 7-year-old kid that started running track again, but just in my body now. Yeah. So I was like, all right, cool. Like,
in the freight train.
Yeah, in the freight train. So I was like, I'm just having fun again. And that's just the mindset I've been taking with everything. You literally just have fun. There's no stress. There's no pressure. You know, this pressure that I experience in this sport is a privilege and nothing else but that. So it's like, why stress yourself out because of something that's inevitable. Like, you're doing well, you're getting better, you're becoming one of the best in this sport. So why stress yourself out? That's going to happen. It's part of the nature of the territory that you're starting to step into. And I think once I realized that, like, everything else became smooth sailing from there. So it's been good.
Yeah, because there's so many athletes that I think you use the word inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
I pray no athlete experiences any major injuries, but I think any tweaks and things are going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think hearing from people like yourself to understand how to overcome those battles, because those can be, breakers, not mental barriers, mental breakers. And I think for a lot of athletes, that's what separates the good from the great,
Right.
I believe. I feel like the ones that can take all of those things that come their way for what they are and just take them step by step. But it's very cool to hear about what people don't see, because people be like, "Hey, like, Kyle got it made." Like,
Yeah,
it's just
right.
easy for him, but understanding it's not always easy. And I think that was the biggest thing. I try to pay attention a lot and doing the preparation for these shows and just in general, like seeing the TikToks, I'm like, man, this stuff I didn't even know.
Yeah.
You get caught in that phase of like, oh, dang, like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Basically.
No, seriously.
And for you, I want to give some perspective to the people who may be aspiring to be a professional track and field athlete. You're a Nike pro now.
Yeah.
If you can see by his shirt. Shout out, checks over everything, I guess,
Yeah,
right
right.
now.
I know.
What is that process like going out of college to trying to figure out about the sponsorship? Because that's a big proponent, especially in track and field.
Right. It's definitely a lot different for a lot of different people. As a decathlete, it's definitely a lot tougher just because like, decathlon is not an American primary event. So it's like, unless you're like the top of the top guy and you're like a very marketable person, it's really hard to kind of find those sponsorships. So coming out of coming out of college, I kind of really had to trust my agent. I signed with, the best agent in the world, Paul Doyle. I signed with him right out of college, and I really trusted him to go out there and be able to negotiate something really good for me. And when he came back talking about Nike, I was like, yo, this is what I think. And, a lot of people think you're going to get a massive check and, be able to just rep Nike all the time. Like, it's really cool, but also it's like nothing's changed. I mean, they're coming to you because they've noticed what you've done, what you've been able to do up to this point, so there's no reason to change what you've been doing. Everything is really the same, and it's been a learning curve. I mean, a lot, like I said a little bit earlier, a lot of the stuff is being done on my own now. I have to worry about traveling. I have to travel my poles. I have to get my hotels, rental cars, everything else. So it's like, that's definitely been a learning curve, and just trying to figure out how to kind of manage through all of that. But, I mean, the transition now has been smooth. I mean, everybody thinks it's just automatically smooth. That first year as a professional, regardless of who you are, is always tough. There's always a learning curve that you have to take. But once you kind of embrace that change and understand that, like I said, inevitable, like, change is going to be inevitable. And once you kind of really understand that, then that's when things become to start being smooth, really smooth. And, everything else from there is pretty easy.
So you use the term faces, and this has been something I've been putting on my Instagram story lately. From your perspective, who do you believe is the face of female track and field?
Oh my gosh. I mean, realistically, I think there's two people right now.
Let me go ahead and throw this out there, because my next question is going to be, who is the face and who is the most marketable?
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now, the face of track and field, and it's like a hot take, kind of, just because of what the Jamaicans have been able to do in the history of Jamaica. But Sydney McLaughlin is the face of women's track and field right now. Like, just because she is unauthentically herself. Like, her faith is so strong in what she does, and she attributes everything that she does to that. But she has been at the top of her game for so long, and she started doing it at so young. She made her first Olympic team at 16, about to be 17 years old, and has been able to compete. She has changed the game for women's 400 hurdles. Like, she is probably a once-in-a-lifetime type athlete. Sydney McLaughlin has been doing the thing incredibly. So I think, and she's a year older than I am.
Yeah.
So she still has a long, long way left in the sport. So I think she is, arguably the face of the sport by far.
Marketable?
Most marketable, like, Tara's my girl. I love Tara.
That's my answer.
Tara does the thing. Like, I love what she's doing, you know, the way she is able to just be herself as well, but in a very out there way. You know, a lot of people, especially for her being a black woman, it's like the narrative is like black women are always just so loud. Nah, she don't care about that at all. You know, she is doing her. She goes out there, lets her hair do what she does, you know, and she's just being herself, being her silly self, you know, and kind of on an earlier question that you touched on where it's like the athletes that I've kind of been able to cross paths with, you know, I was at school with Tara for a year, so I got to know her for who she really was. So just to see her out here now bringing that same energy that I saw from her every day in college, just like on the professional level, and she's been killing it. So, you know, hats off to her for what she's been able to accomplish, and I'm excited to see where she takes it, you know, because she's about to skyrocket again.
And before you skyrocket, come on, Stuck in My Thoughts, please.
Yes.
Gotta get her on the show.
Yeah.
Okay, on the men's side, who's the face, who's the most marketable?
I think with the men, it's like a lot more wide open. It's a whole lot more wide open. I mean, and realistically, like, even though he's kind of like almost gotten the short end of the stick in his event, I think he kind of takes both, you know, both categories. Rai Benjamin, what he's been able to do in the 400 hurdles, like he got his first Olympic title this past season, but he's just been like part of a trio, kind of like me, Ayden, and Leo, where it's like you guys are changing your event. You guys are absolutely changing what's been going on and allowing and forcing everybody else to step up to compete with you guys. And even though he hasn't, you know, gotten all of his wins, and I think he has a whole lot more coming, just the type of person that he is, he's a very marketable guy, very out there, very sociable. You know, his fashion is the way he needs it to be, and you know, he's a super chill guy. So I think he kind of takes both of those categories for right now.
Yeah.
But give me a few more years and I might have a different answer.
You might, okay.
I might have a different answer.
Hey, y'all picking up what he's putting down. I like that. Okay, going back to what you talked about, how I guess people don't even really understand this until now, you got to figure things out on your own
right
now as a professional athlete. It's a lot different than the college ranks side of things. For when you approach the decathlon, let's take, for example, how do you approach that both mentally and physically? Because it's a grueling event.
It is. I think majority of the preparation for the decathlon is mental. I really think it's like 70-30. I mean, there's a lot of people, you know, that aren't even the most gifted of athletes that can go out there and excel at the decathlon, you know, and that's just because they're mentally tough. So I think being able to go out there and train and really trusting your coaching and your training plan, just to know that they're going to build a plan that's really good to allow your body to be able to, one, train all the events in a timely manner, a timely fashion, but two, to also put you in the best position where it's like, okay, I can really tap into all of my physical attributes, but at the same time still feel fresh when competition comes around. So I think that part isn't really that tough. I mean, you know, it's still 10 events, but that's not the toughest part, but the mental aspect, because there's so many roller coasters and emotions that you feel during a decathlon, you know, starting with the 100, you might have a great 100-meter race, you know, like for myself, out in Gotzis, I went PR'd for the first time in 2 years, 3 years almost. You know, I was moving 10.50, so it's like, almost had that 10.4 at 6'5", 230, mind you. So being able to move that fast, it's like, yo, like, I want to dwell on that for so long, but it's like, yo, you got 30 minutes and you got another event to focus on. So it's like, you got to know how to feel that high, but then also bring your body down and, you know, be able to be stoic and just move through your next events. But also it's twofold. It's like, what if you have a bad event? You know, you go through and you're expecting to really be ready for this type of event. And for me, I'm a great high jumper. In some competitions I've went out and been very, very under where I knew I was capable of and underperformed greatly. And it's like, yo, like my competition's over, but you also have to understand and know that it's 10 events. So the mental preparation prior to a competition and really being able to balance those emotions and those feelings, I think sets you up to be a really, really good decathlete.
I like that perspective right there. While you're preparing for these decathletes or these heptathlons and all that type of stuff, you listening to Michael Jackson?
Bro, I was actually listening to Michael Jackson this morning during practice. Like, I was practicing earlier and I was hurdling and I was like, listening to the rap and some of the R&B and everything. And I was like, yo, I'm feeling good. Let me change up this vibe. And I put on some MJ and was rocking with him for the rest of the practice. I listen to MJ all the time.
Top 3 Michael Jackson songs.
My all-time favorite is The Way You Make Me Feel. Remember the Time is such a banger. What's my third? There's so many good ones. I think I got to give it to Beat It, though. I've done a few. Back in the day, I did a few talent shows in middle school and danced to Beat It, learned all the dance moves and stuff. So I'd probably have to say Beat It. It's a classic, so it goes at 3.
So you mentioned you're 6'5", 230. I heard that you like to cook a lot of your meals, but I would imagine at that size, you got to eat a lot. Give us like a day in Kyle Garland's life. What are you eating? You got to fuel the train.
You got to fuel the freight train. So it's like I've learned for me, because I used to not, like, especially with my busy college schedule, I used to not really have too much time to eat lunch. But as I become a professional, I have a little bit more time. I've learned how important, that midday meal is. So breakfast is usually just the same, like some form of eggs, about 4 to 6 eggs, and some toast. Sometimes I'll make like French toast every once in a while. And then for lunch is usually a lot lighter for me, but I'll do like a sandwich or two. Whether I make one at home, whether I go to one of my favorite spots in Athens, like a Nuke's Eatery or something like that, and get a good sandwich. But then dinner is usually where I have a lot of fun. Like, I make a mean Cajun pasta. I do like a nice sweet kind of like hickory smoked salmon that I do. I'm not really too much of a red meat guy, but every once in a while I'll make a steak. I do a whole bunch of chicken, so the menu is endless. Pasta all the time, but really prioritizing my 3 meals. Around like each meal being around 700 to about 1,000 calories on that range. So I'm hitting about 3,000 to 3,500 calories just from meals alone, and then I also snack pretty well in between. So I'm probably getting close to about 4,000 calories a day, 4,000 to 4,200 calories, which isn't terrible, but for my size, I think it fuels me well. So.
Fuel the train. Last 2 questions.
Okay.
First one, you've done so much, and there is so much more for you to accomplish. I know you have a lot of high goals, set a lot of goals for yourself. Mm-hmm. What will people see from Kyle Garland in the future that they haven't seen yet?
Like I was touching on earlier, it's just like an authentic version of myself. It's like I'm at a position now, I've kind of grown in the sport enough where it's like I'm not afraid to be who I want to be. And like everybody always says to me, it's like, you're, in certain situations, if I get like some criticism, they're like, you're too nice or whatever. But like, bro, that's who I am. Like, that's genuinely who I am. Like, I always have a big smile on my face. There's not too many times you won't see me hanging my head. So I think the biggest thing that I'm going to take with me is just like, yo, I'm a nice guy. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm coming out here to wreck some things, but it's like I'm going to do it with a smile on my face. And I think just being able to do that and understanding that's like where my strength comes from, I don't think many people have seen that from me yet at all. And I think it's really where it's going to take me to a whole nother level.
What's up? And as you know, the name of the show is called Stuck in My Thoughts. I ask everybody that sits down with me, what do you get stuck in your thoughts about?
My biggest thing, and it's track related, but it's like, how high is somebody really going to score in this event? Right now the world record is 9,100 points. I've talked with a couple people, and it's like, there's a lot of athletes that have kind of like, haven't scored over that 9,000 point barrier, but a guy like we were talking about a little earlier, Dan O'Brien, when you put his PRs together when he was in his prime, and if you were to put it together, it's like 9,300 points. And it's like, we see trackflation is becoming real. So it's like, as guys like myself, Leos, Aydens, and other young guys, the Norwegian guys that have been, killing it right now in the sport, it's like, this next generation of athletes, like, what are they going to be able to score? Like, when I'm 50, 60 years old, is somebody going to be out here scoring 9,800 points? Like, 10,000, is that on the horizon in the near future? Like, that would be insane. So I think about that more often than not, but I'm excited to see what the future holds for our event.
Yeah, just track in general, man. Like,
I know.
Nationals is going on right now.
Oh.
These jokers moving. They sliding.
Ooh.
So
6 women under.
yeah.
Under
11?
what was it? Under 11?
Yeah.
6 women under 11, bro.
Jamisha Ford, this is before you race.
Mm-hmm.
If you pull out that 4,
If she pull out that 4 for
that
4, I saw her
Wendy's-
put out a tweet. She was like, "Let me go to
Yeah.
Wendy's and get my 4 for 4." I was like, "Yo, that's hard."
you get that Wendy's, we sitting down. I'm coming to Columbia ASAP.
Gots to.
But Kyle, man, I appreciate you sitting down. I'm glad that
doubt,
we
bro.
got to do this.
Yeah.
The perspective is much needed, and this has been long overdue,
Yeah.
all the way from the times back in 2021 of you hosting me here
Yeah.
in Georgia. Sorry, Bulldogs, I didn't come. Love you, Auburn. To now, man, seeing what you're doing on the pro circuit, man, we just wishing you the best. Continue to do
Appreciate
your
you, man.
thing, and we're going to be seeing you
Yes.
in L.A.
Oh, most def.
We're going to speak that into the atmosphere.
Yeah, speak it into existence
Yes,
right
sir.
now.
All right, man. I appreciate you. Make sure you
Appreciate you,
guys
bro.
on the show go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. We're back for all things Stuck in My Thoughts. We're going to get this thing rolling. Appreciate all the love and support. We out of here. Bruh.
Bro,
Appreciate it.
that was fire, man. I
Yes,
love
sir.
it. I love it, bro. I've really been loving what you've been doing with this, bro. Like,
Appreciate it.
This is super dope. Like, just seeing you do what you got to do.
Trying to get my bag. Trying to get my bag.
Hey, man.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
loving it, bro.
Whoa! Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah.